Welcome to the Bill Hansen and Gipsy Williams show.
Where we will help you turn your wedding dreams of sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows
Into a real experience of a lifetime, guided by our wisdom and experience, and that from our weekly guests.
Bill Hansen has catered over 10,000 weddings, starting back in the 1960s, and at 74 years young, he has not retired. He is actually refired. His South Florida weddings at Villa Woodbine, the Sky Museum, and Guerdys, and over 500 other venues throughout South Florida has made him a sought after by folks with distinctive tastes.
And television star Gipsy Williams and her Enchanted Bride brand, which is full of sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, has lived weddings since her days as a rising star in Hollywood. If you are a couple who's excited about your wedding but confused, worried, overwhelmed, you're on the right channel where you will learn how to create your dream wedding, making your family and friends ooh and ah while enjoying your planning process.
Our guest today is event stylist Guerdy, and I hope I'm not going to, your last name, is it Abraira? I'm not sure.
Abraira.
I'm trying, y'all. I'm from the South, from Tennessee.
Y'all from the South.
Of Divine Designs by Guerdy. For over a decade, Guerdy has designed lavish weddings and has been bringing magical experience to couples all over South Florida and around the world.
And I have to share this. I remember meeting Guerdy back in 2006 at the Bankers Club, and I still can see her sitting on the couch at the club, and she was jumping and so excited, and she's still going strong today. So I am really honored, Guerdy, because you have an international reputation. So honored that you would join us actually on our first Bill and Gipsy show. And so thank you. So now the question, Guerdy, how'd you get started? First as a floral designer out on wealthy Fisher Island. How'd you get started there? And then you turned all your dreams and visions into that of an event stylist.
Absolutely. So I started by wanting to always be in the wedding planning business. So I never really thought that I would become this floral designer. It was always more about becoming a wedding planner. And I had this opportunity where the chef at Fisher Island told them about me because I was working at a property off the island, obviously at that time. And they recruited me to head their sales department in the catering department. So I went in, I tripled their sales, and next thing you know, the buzz got out. And so it led me into meeting a lot of amazing people, and one of them was the owner of the flower shop pre-existing on Fisher Island for 25 years prior to my coming there. And this beautiful soul named Martha Suarez was retiring, and she came to me in confidence and was like, Guerdy, you've been so helpful to me, and I would love you to help me try to sell this shop. And I looked at her, and then I looked up at God, and I said, this is my moment. And so I merged my love for planning and designing beautiful events. And I bought the flower studio there, and we were there for about 7.5 years until I was able to kind of move off to land and really kind of now navigate my company into different brackets, North and South of Florida and beyond. Yeah.
Guerdy, I don't know if I ever told you this, but John Melk, I think, was the owner of Fisher Island.
Yeah.
And back in the 90s, I actually catered his daughter's wedding at Vizcaya.
Wonderful.
John Melk, for you viewers, John Melk was the founder of Blockbuster Video.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, Ms. Guerdy, tell us about your very first high-end wedding and give us a little bit of details on what exactly made it so high-end.
Well, on Fisher Island, you're going to find quite a few characters, those being the residents and members. And so one day someone walked into my office, my catering office, and they said it was a beautiful Russian, model that just comes strolling in. And I say, how can I help you? And she says, I want to get married in 2 weeks. I want you to set up everything for me, inclusive of the flights for all my guests from Russia to Fisher Island on a private jet. And so I looked at her And I was just kind of like trying to compose myself, but it all worked out. And we were able to fly in all 25 of their guests from Russia over. They had this most amazing wedding. Dolce & Gabbana custom made her dress in 2 weeks.
Oh my Lord.
So that's how opulent and connected they were. And we just did this incredible wedding where they had the ceremony under the banyan tree. And upon their reception, we had a 25-piece Junkanoo band that we flown in from Bahamas. And it was just this crazy, lavish, intimate wedding. So, and actually that's actually apropos now for what's happening these days. Small, intimate, beautiful, elegant weddings. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wonderful. So being based in South Florida, what's your secret sauce that helps you plan your weddings all over the world?
Yeah, when people say to me, "Where are you based out of?" what I say is out of an airplane. So that's my office really. You want to make yourself transitional and global in a sense where your talent can carry you across the globe, and that's really when you know that you've made it in a sense. You know, when people are not looking at you to say, "Oh, you're in Florida, so we can't use you." They just don't care. They're saying, "Well, listen, we're in Philadelphia, you're in Florida. We want to get married in the Bahamas, and we'll all travel there and do this amazing site visits and see the opportunity for the best possibilities to do an amazing wedding anywhere."
I know you've traveled to many countries, but let's say someone comes instead of a certain country that you've never visited or traveled. How do you go into creating this beautiful, magical experience without and go through all the logistics and everything, all the details?
Right. So just recently, actually, a year ago, I got hired by the mother of a bride whose other daughter I had done a wedding for. So naturally, we had an amazing time the first round. And so she wanted me to do her daughter's wedding, and that would be in Portugal. So mind you, the daughter's in New York, the mom is in Palm Beach, I'm in South Florida, in Miami, and then they want to get married in Portugal. And so it's very important first to ask all the virtual questions, getting all the information that you can get virtually. So floor plans, just overall basic package of catering and vendor resources, and start doing your homework prior to going there for the first site visit. So it's all about going through a checklist of questions to make sure that this property that you're vetting, so to speak, is the right fit virtually. And then you go and obviously a lot of conference calls and Zoom calls and Skypes and all that stuff. And eventually you set yourself up for success so that when you get on the grounds there for your first visit, you're able to really kind of execute to make sure that everything in that checklist is as is on live. So I usually go 2 times to whatever venue if I have not been there before. But it's truly asking the right questions and doing your due diligence and making sure everything you do, like floor plans, to scale. So with the knowledge of design, I'm able to really kind of do that from anywhere. Mm-hmm.
So could you share with us, Guerdy, some of the specific questions when you first meet a couple? What are some of the things that you ask them to doing your research so that you really understand what it is they want?
Right. It's really asking them to find keywords to help describe themselves. So before I even speak to them, I try to set them up for a more thorough and productive conversation with me. So we do send them an intro questionnaire. So I want to know, for example, how many bridesmaids, just so that I know how many friends do you have? Are you more like an extrovert or an introvert? So little answers like that are going to help me try to understand exactly what type of couple I'm working with. And also finding keywords to describe themselves. I sometimes do ask, what is your style at home? Is it minimalistic? Is it opulent? Is it Baroque? What is it? So that I can try to pull some of that, those aesthetic and elements and bring them into the design factors when I try to design. And so I'm a planner, but because I have the background of the floral side and the design, I'm able to kind of literally put together a 23-page full, bodied vision board for them with a floor plan that I've designed. And then we kind of go shopping for the right, florist to make it happen. But the design usually comes from inside our studio.
What do you see for like the styles, the colors, the textures trending for 2021? Because I know we're always working for the following year.
And to be honest, I don't track that. I don't go by what's hot now, because if I were to do that, I'll be out in a second in this industry. I think that what you have to try to do is just stay true to who the couple is and guide them that way. And I don't like to trend around because, you know, the pictures are going to show. So it may look nice now. In 10 years, you kind of start doubting. And in 20 years, you're like, oh my God, what did I do? So I try to make sure that I ask the right questions and say, are you sure you're going to like this now in 20 years? And when the bride starts hesitating, I know for a fact that we need to maybe tweak some things around, because the goal is to create a timeless event and not so much a trendy one. Yeah.
So communications are always a key. I think that it's so important that we stay in touch with all of our couples when we're planning weddings. What do you find the best way to communicate? Are you a texter? Are you a talker on the phone?
Yeah.
Or are you an emailer, or do you like the face-to-face?
So in weddings, you know, with anything I do, my motto is, if it's not in writing, it never happened. Because, you know, when I used to be a catering director and dealing with the banquet captains and the servers, etc., you have these banquet event orders, which is really the recap of what the client wants on paper. So if you forget to say she wants this kind of napkin fold, and next thing you know, they do a fan, and the client comes in and says, what happened? We spoke about this. So my goal is to really try to, email is my best friend, just because I'm able to say, per our conversation, we discussed this, this, and that, and then you have it in writing, and you could always go back to it for, you know, just as a refresher. So definitely phone calls, but scheduled ones. So one thing I can't do is just start picking up the phone at the pop of a ring, just because my whole life is scheduled, literally. So I have to kind of be focused on what's ahead of my schedule and be prepared for those meetings and those conference calls. And my brides kind of do know that they can text me, but I say to them, can you also email me so that I won't forget if I've already opened up your text message. So it's hard sometimes, you know, and brides are very eager. As soon as they get the engagement ring, they're like, oh my God, I want this color scheme and I want this. And I'm like, whoa. What venue are we doing? What kind of, you know, we have to start baby steps. So it's hard sometimes to pull them back into the order of sequence of the planning process. But I do find that organizing calls, conference calls, and definitely emails are my best friends for sure.
Now with everything that's going on, how do you see the future of weddings with what is now the new term? Who would have ever thought in 2020 as the new norm?
Couples are going to have to make some very hard and decisions pretty much as to what's going to happen to their wedding. The first thing I like to say is #LoveCan'tWait. So I think that if some brides are saying to themselves, well, listen, now I'm going to have to get married in 2 years from now. No one says that you have to. You can definitely do a really small private ceremony now and have an amazing photographer, videographer capturing that. And it actually even is really true to your emotions and to that emotional truth in a sense. So I actually love that. And the fact that they can get married now and have this kind of very intimate, truthful ceremony and not doing it for all to see. And then later they can definitely do a celebration in celebrating the actual nuptials. So no one has to do everything in one day. You can space it out accordingly and do your ceremony now, get that satisfaction, you know, with the photos coming out, and you can see how amazing this union was, and then you can celebrate later and have the best party of your life. So, you know, I think people need to get creative and patient. Right now, what's happening is that the brides who are, I think, in the toughest spots are the ones who are in limbo. So they're not in the force majeure, pandemic, quote unquote, policy where the hotel's able to move them out to a new date without penalty so much. A lot of venues have been kind and done that, but some venues say to the brides, listen, your wedding is in November. We can't move you right now for a wedding so far out for you to pick a new date in 2021 because it affects their revenue and their budget projection. So I've been the liaison between the bride and the vendors, such as the venue predominantly, and trying to keep them calm and stable and patient until it's time to make that decision. And right now, people are like, I need to send my invitations. What do I do? And you have to take a gamble. So you either have to move forward and act, as if everything's going to be positive and the outcome's going to be great, or you do make this hard decision to say, listen, I know I may lose a little bit of money, and move it out to a date where you can sleep at night and you have peace of mind. So it's been a little tough for those brides. But we'll get through this.
So one piece of advice that I always give my couples is you really need, since most people can't afford the best of the best.
Right.
Okay? So I always ask them, what's the most important and what's the least important? That's the best advice I can give any couple. But Guerdy, what's the one piece of advice that you would give a couple? If you only tell them one thing, what would that be?
To be honest, hire an amazing planner, one that's knowledgeable and has great contacts, because out of all 7 brides that I had to move within that March, April, May date frame and move them out to different dates, I was able to pull some stunts that I never thought possible myself. And it was really, truly due to these relationships that I have had for 15 years in the business, and them saying, listen, it's not worth us screwing your client over with the relationship that we built, and you're giving us so much more as far as clientele, et cetera, that they look at the overall picture and not just the contractual verbiage. So I think that if you're able to get a really good planner who's able to help facilitate so that you're not in the line of fire, and the planner could be your buffer, I think it's been very helpful for a lot of my clients who were able to get some negotiating perks, in a sense, with the contract that weren't in contract, but I was able to kind of help push it to that frame where they saw the overall picture and were very kind to do some things that they usually wouldn't do or shouldn't do, but they were because of some great relationship that we built. So I think that your best friend right now is going to be your planner, because that's the person who's going to be in charge of really kind of going to bat for you.
If you had last few words to say to a bride and groom, what will you tell them? Like, what's your greatest right now?
In regards to the pandemic?
Just in general, when it comes to just in general.
Stay true to yourself. You don't have you don't have to please everyone. And so when you're making these decisions as far as flowers, as far as this and that, stay true to your budget and stay true to yourself and your aesthetic. Don't do it because your best friend's wedding was over the top, so now you have to have triple time the number of flowers. You don't have to be pretentious, and for me, I can see right through it. So when I plan my the weddings with my brides, I call them out. I'm like, who are you doing this for? At this point in time, I'm part of the family, so I can open up a big mouth, and I ask this tough question sometimes, and then they say to themselves, you know what, you're right. Let me make it more into band and ambiance, for example, versus it to be about the most expensive flower or the most expensive venue. Sometimes it's more about just keeping it real, because guess what? I've been to the most amazing weddings, and you don't feel the love in the room because it's all contrived and all fake. Mm-hmm. So I love the weddings where you literally feel it's inevitable, where you feel that love in the room and that energy, because everybody's on the dance floor having fun, drinking, and just kind of celebrating the love in the air. So I'm all about being truthful to yourself.
That ties in with something that I learned a long time ago. I once had a bride who wanted to impress everyone that she was serving Johnny Walker Blue. Okay? And she passed it around on a tray so that everybody could see it. And what she was trying to do is impress, not delight. So that's why my mantra has always been delight our guests. That's what we love to do at my catering company. So Guerdy, I'm getting goosebumps now. I really am. I'm so happy to have you be with us today and launch the Bill and Gypsy show. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful.
All have to be. We're healthy.
Hopefully we're going to be working together at Vizcaya soon for a wedding. And so I think that's it. You can contact Guerdy, her email, and we'll put this up on the site too, guerdydesign@gmail.com. Guerdy Design, GUERDY design@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Guerdy, I love
you. Stay safe and sanitize.
Yeah, that's right. Gypsy, I love you too. So thank you. And amen.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.